Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we dive deep and answer the ultimate question: how did you hack into tech sales? Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, proven strategies, and insider tips from top performers who've cracked the code to break into tech sales and thrive. Whether you're just starting out, making a career pivot, or ready to level up, this is your go-to space for actionable advice and real-world success stories. Let's crack the code together, because hacking into tech sales isn't just a dream, it's your next move. Now with your host, the founder of Tech Sales Funnels and the tech sales hacker himself, Davison Da Silva.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast. This is Davison Da Silva, tech sales hacker, your host. Again, super excited today. Bringing to the stage Stephen Oommen. Stephen, I have seen him on LinkedIn forever. I feel like I know him. We really never met face to face, but recently we actually talked. And we worked together at Microsoft. We're from Dallas. We never really had a one-on-one, which we're still planning to do it. Today, I just want him to introduce himself and kind of let's go ahead and start with introduction. Stephen, welcome.
Man, I first and foremost, it's always a privilege to join you, and just in general, man, I'm more grateful to you for giving me the opportunity and even having me, man.
It's awesome. I like to start at a high level. Let's forget about career, forget about what's on LinkedIn here. Who is Stephen? If you're walking and you go on an elevator, right, or whatever, you find someone for the first time, you have 1-2 minutes to talk about you. Who is Stephen?
So the funny thing is that very question is almost the antithesis of how I teach people to show up, because there's something I always say. You mentioned, and it's funny because, just for the audience, zero prep. We're just having a conversation. So none of this is scripted. I have zero clue what questions are going to be asked. So it's whatever comes off the top of the dome. But the funny thing is, right off the bat, you hit me between the eyes because you use the word elevator. And I always tell people, man, whoever thought of this idea of the elevator, it just, I personally don't like it, because if I were to tell someone who I am, honestly, I've been thinking, we reinvent ourselves almost every day. But today, the way that I would describe it is I'm an investor in people. And so the reason that's the antithesis of the elevator pitch is because if I'm in an elevator, I'm going to want to know about you. I want to know how I can help you. If there's something at this stage in my career, in this stage of my life, I wish I would have known the things I know today back when I was in my 20s. And that's part of what we'll probably share today for those trying to break into their next level in their journey or whatnot. But I would say investor in people, man, in any way, shape, or form. If there's a way that I can invest in you and I have the ability, then I'm going to do my best to be able to do that.
I like that, and also that's what I see on you. And first time we talked, you asked how can I help you? How can I serve you? Right? What can I do for you? And that's exactly what I came out of the conversation, our first conversation we had. Oh man, this is my guy. This is one of my guys. Because I like to think the same way. My life themes live to serve, serve to leave. The more you leave, the more you serve, the more you leave. If you're not leaving, it's because you're not serving, and you can only serve by being an instrument in helping others, right? So I'm right on with that. I'm super curious about what is the basketball in front of your name on LinkedIn. Are you related to? I see basketball behind you, some Mamba. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I saw that yesterday.
Yeah. I'll tell you where the affinity for the game comes from, and there's a lot of different aspects to it, so somebody can understand that when I say investor in people, let me be very clear. I'm not being overly altruistic, but I'm also don't believe that you invest in people just to get something back.
Mm.
I'm human like everyone else, right? I want to take care of my family, my kids, myself, all that sort of thing. But my faith, my understanding of life, just how I view things, I know the truth is I'm not going to die in my old age, look back, wish I would have worked more, wish I would have made more money. I'm going to wish I would have had a better mission, more impactful mission, invest in people. So the reason I bring that up is because when I think about the game of basketball, for me personally, I
Yeah.
have a very addictive personality, right? And so when I was very young, I discovered the game. I watched Magic Johnson, and the smile that he had on his face inspired me because I want to be joyous in everything that I do. Diehard Laker fan because on the outside people see this smiling, fun loving, that sort of thing. But when they got Kobe, I have this internal
Oh.
desire to be successful, very intense. And it feels like it's this dichotomy between character and personality traits. Because if you see me in different situations, you may see the intense side, so you wouldn't know how generous and kind I am. But if you
Mm.
only saw the generous and kind side, you wouldn't understand that I can create massive impact in an organization. And so when I first came across the game, the reason I bring the addictive personality is because I got so addicted to the game that it kept me out of drugs, it kept me out of alcohol, it kept me out of all these different things that I believe could have gotten me in a lot of trouble. And while most people were out partying, and don't get me wrong, I've went to parties and clubs, but I've to this day I've never tasted alcohol, never done any drugs, and I actually liken it because I believe God gave me basketball to be able to spend my 2 a.m. in the mornings. I'd be at the gym shooting around at 24-hour fitness and in the gym. So I actually believe basketball was given to me, um, honestly, by God to be able to keep my life in at least a semi decent path. And I always tell people if they ask the story about one of my manifestations of, I believe that God spoke to me was when I was on the basketball court and I
Mm.
felt like I heard. So, like, there's this mental, emotional, and spiritual just thing that I have with the game. And so I don't think I can ever give it up, man. So
I
I say
love that.
basketball saved my life.
I love that. It's very embedded on you. Like I can see it's part of your image, right? Like
Yeah.
right behind you, you see the basketballs, and that's amazing analogy and everything else. And of course Kobe, Mamba, right mentality and all that. The lion though, there's a lion too. Your LinkedIn profile is the lion banner. That's it. And I see the lion right behind you. Is that
Yeah.
okay if we ask?
Yeah. So the lions are because my entire family was born in August. Lion is the symbol of a
Mm,
Leo, and so every single person's birthday in my family just happens to be the first week of August. So I need to have a
wow.
couple lion cubs in there, and I need to update the canvas. But yeah, man, it's as simple as that, and what it stands for, right? The courage, the
Mhm.
leadership, everything that a lion stands for. There's so much that has come out of that. But the context or the originality, the origin story of it was because of the birthday and the Leo sign.
I love it. And I can see that come from you, like that presence of leadership and
Yeah.
what can I say? You know, quiet in the jungle, but he kind of dominates. Where that came from? Like, I know it's August and all that. Did you develop that ability throughout the years? How did you realize you were an actual lion? Because you like that's kind of who you
Mm.
are.
So that is a great question. I have never been asked that question, and I don't know that I've ever realized it. I don't think I ever thought to myself, I am a lion. I think it was all the for me it's a journey of 1%, right? The way that I was grown up. I grew up as the only boy in my family, and so I put it on myself to be as I grew up, I'm going to be the provider, I'm going to be the protector, all those sort of things. And if you think about, male and female lions, that they each have their part, right? So if you think about the female lions, they go out and they hunt and they bring back the food. And you see the male lions that if there is an enemy that comes against the pride, what you'll see is the male lions surround the entire family and they take the brunt against the enemy, and they're the protector and all these type of things. So no matter where you go, I feel like just over time, there's this respect that you have for both sides. And I think there's just so much symbolism within it. But I don't know that I've ever thought to myself, I am now a lion. I
Yeah.
just, I think it's always
Natural.
it's the Mamba mentality, this constant quest. So never arriving, always on the journey.
I can sense that though, like because I talk to a lot of people and I've been a life coach, career coach for like decades, and I don't know, I just have, for me it's like a gift. I can talk to people a couple of times and it can dive deep into their personality. I can, if you didn't have the Mamba behind none of that, I would sense that for you, which is a
Yeah.
positive, by the way. It's a great thing
I
to
appreciate
have.
that.
Yeah, I you have been sales forever. Like, could you stop? Could you tell us a little bit? How did you get into tech sales and technology? Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people listening to this right now, they are in tech sales, in technology, like different stages of their career. How did
Yeah.
you get started? What?
Such a great question. I think I'm gonna take it one step back and
Yeah.
just share like how I originally started in sales, right?
Yes.
Because the answer to how I got into tech sales is the exact opposite reason that I would tell anyone to get into tech sales. So I want to leave
Yeah.
that as a cliffhanger for those for a second. But I originally got into sales not knowing I was actually in sales, um, selling cell phones for voice stream wireless. Been in sales over 25 years, and I started going door to door trying to sell cell phone plans. I even, what was interesting is I used to take those faceplates, and I figured out very quickly that, hey, an activation I might get paid $10 on, but I can buy these Nokia custom faceplates for about $2 to $3 and sell them for $20.
Mm.
So I literally made more money by buying up a bunch of faceplates, putting them in the trunk of my car, going
Interesting.
out to the soccer fields, the cricket fields, the basketball courts, anywhere I can find a group of people, and asking people, hey, does anyone need custom Nokia faceplates for their phones? And I made more money doing it that way.
Interesting.
I did not call that sales. I called it making money. I called it, hey,
Mm.
I'm growing up poor and I need a way to earn $1, right? So that's actually how I started. Fast forward, I've always been in sales, telemarketing, all that kind of stuff. I was sitting at a basketball tournament and I asked one of my friends' sisters who was in recruiting at Citibank. I said, hey, listen, I heard one of my buddies is making a lot of money there. Where's the best place to go, make some money? Again,
Mm.
this is all inspired by the fact that I grew up poor. I was motivated by money early on.
Yeah.
And she literally said, sales. I said, okay. I did not realize I had been in sales like as a profession my whole career
Mm.
up to that point. And so she put me in sales at Citibank and I ended up winning President's Club. So maybe there was a lot of work that came up to that to be, good at sales. But fast forward, I started a company, ended up I was actually going to go try to start an accounting firm as a company, and I went and got a master's degree in accounting. I was going to be a
Oh wow.
CPA, did my MBA, and that was the goal.
Nice.
So I have to, in order to be a CPA, you here in Texas, you have to do 1 year under a certified CPA. So I went and got this job as a finance director, and we are implementing. So I have to select and implement an ERP system.
ERP.
I end up speaking to the Oracle rep and I asked him, and I'm very bold with some of the questions that I ask. And I go, I'm just curious, how much do you make selling ERP? He literally goes, last year I made $998,000 as a W-2 income earner.
Yeah.
We're taught that you can make all this money as an entrepreneur, owning a business, all this type of stuff. And at this point, I'm like, wait, what? That's an oddly specific number.
Yeah.
And obviously, the reason he knew the number exactly was because he was 2 grand
Very close.
short of making the 7-figure
Very
club.
close. Very close.
And I was like, okay, how do I get to do this? Because he even asked me, he goes, why are you a finance leader? You should be in sales. What he did not know is every year up to that, I had been in some sort of sales role or
Mm,
sales adjacent role. And I said, well, tell you a little bit about my background. So he ended up getting me a referral to someone who I ended up getting a job at ADP. Now,
mhm,
here's the thing. Both scenarios, or all three of those scenarios, selling cell phones, going into Citibank, going into ADP, my motivation was wrong, flat out. I can say that now looking back, because what I'm not telling in the story is the ups and downs and the different things because of my mind that was not motivated by the right things. So I'm going to say something very, very bold, maybe opinionated slash strong.
mhm,
Never, ever, 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 in my opinion, get into a sales role or even a tech sales role specifically and only 100% because you are trying to make more money. If you are only money motivated, and notice I'm saying only, it rarely ends well.
yeah,
And that was my issue. And so, again, I've gone through some ups and downs to learn things the hard way. But if you are not motivated by the mission of what you're selling, I believe most people, that is the root of why they're anxious in their sales roles, why
mhm,
they're under so much pressure in their sales role, because there's not this undying belief in the mission of what you're selling and the problem you're trying to solve for. But most people get in because of a brand name of a company. They want to get into tech sales because they hear you can make all this money. And again, can you be monetarily successful by doing that if that's your motivation? Sure. But I don't think as a human being, in your heart, your soul, your psyche, I think it's very hard to be successful in all the areas of our life if that is our primary slash only motivation.
that's I mean, amazing realization, right? That for a lot of us might take a lot of time to get to that point. Some people will never get to that point. But yeah, I love it. I don't think it's hard. I think it's just needs to be said. And especially if you just do it for the money, and then if you're not making money, then what? Right?
Yeah,
What's gonna keep you moving in sales, right?
100%.
That's a great realization. So so you talked about how you got starting sales and you pivoted to tech sales. Is that any big difference that you can see technology sales to a quote unquote regular sales?
Yeah, that's such a great question because there are some people out there that will say sales is sales is sales. Some people will say it's different because of the language, the vernacular. I didn't actually know after I got into tech sales that somebody said the word sales motions is
Mm.
a tech specific language. And I was like, what? Manufacturing, other places don't say that. And there are things that are different, right? Now, here's my belief. I think depending on segment, industry,
Mm.
type, products, probably 60 to 80% of sales, whether it's B2B, D2C, B2C, any of this, I think 60 to 80% of sales is relatively the same. I really do. Everyone thinks they're unique. Cool. Everyone is unique. There's no two people on the planet that are the same. So cool, we're unique. But there are things that are also similar, right? One of the things that I find fascinating that I state a lot. It's not part of your question, but you just made me
Mhm.
think of it. Is when I said the word segment, I also think about brand names, size of companies, what you're selling. There is a myriad of different facets of sales.
Mhm.
I'll give you a great example. I see a lot of people hating on successful sellers that are at brand name companies. I see people who are in smaller companies saying, well, it's harder to sell when you're in a startup.
don't have a
or
good
that's
logo.
real sales. All of it is a load of crud, in my opinion. Sales comes in different forms and fashions, and there's different parts of the skills that you need to be successful. There is a reason, for example, if you're at a Microsoft, if you're at a Google, if you're at a, Chevron, if you're at a, like, it doesn't matter the industry that you're in, whether you're B2B, B2C, D2C, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger the company there is, what people don't realize is the internal politics, for example, to get even a deal done. The
Mm,
sale may not be in terms of from me to the prospect. The sale might be internal
the team.
to how do we get a deal across the finish line? How do we get the right contracting? How do we get legal to approve something? How do we get someone to prioritize our deal at the end of the year versus
Mm-hmm.
another deal? What about product competition? Oh, we've got this big infrastructure deal over. Is it a SaaS deal? Like, there's so much to it that there is a reason the 1% is always the 1%. Oh, he was successful because he was at a brand. Like, I saw someone the other day rip on a top seller at Gong because Gong is now a brand name. Well, why wasn't everybody a top seller then?
Yeah.
No matter where you're at, it's like a deep desire to win, to be great. Like, it's hard to be great. It kind of reminds me of trying to be the top person at Harvard. Like, you might have been a valedictorian at your high school. It's harder to be the top person at Harvard. So it doesn't matter where you go. It's difficult. And the higher up you climb, the harder the competition is.
Yes.
I'll use the example for us at Microsoft. People are like, well, you're at Microsoft. It's easy to get in the door. Sure, easier, maybe. But the higher you rise in a brand name, the more polarizing the viewpoint is. If you're a diehard GCP fan or a diehard AWS fan, you don't want to talk to Microsoft at all. You might let them in the door because you just want to learn and put them as part of your RFP. So how does someone who's in a startup deal with that? They may not be as good. Somebody that goes from a big enterprise company that goes into a startup, totally different skills. It's all part of sales. And so we have to understand that when you think about all of this collective, man, we got to sort of band together. It's not really differences in harder or easier. It's understanding which skill sets we need to pull on and where we need to be great at to get a win and to be able to actually see success.
Mm. I love that. I love the perspective that you brought about the ecosystem, right, of selling, the emotions that are involved, the multiple elements outside of yourself, right? Because a lot of times people might be thinking, okay, it's me and a product and the client. Tech sales, especially at the higher enterprise level, it gets more and more complicated. 2 or 3 years deals sometimes, right? Um, to close something. Thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you have the perspective on both angles, both sides. Now,
Yeah.
what's Steven doing these days? Like, you got all this quote unquote experience in sales all these years, but it was kind of natural for you to start with. Now, how you are, um, yeah, what's top of mind for you, and what's next for Steven?
Yeah. So such a great question as well. About a year ago, I just had this epiphany that I've been doing this now 25 plus years. What's next? How am I going to impact the world and be mission oriented? Right. So it took me till about my mid 30s to go from money to mission. Right. I was a slow study and you
Mm,
have to go through the ups and downs of life. But then last year specifically, it was mid 2024. I had this run in with my son where he's about 2.5 years old and he says something to me and he basically hits me between the eyes to make me realize that I'm spending more time working and not impacting the family, being there as a father, all that type of stuff. Because guess what? Sometimes we turn into workaholics. And I
mhm,
swore to myself I would never become that. But there was a moment in time where I was putting him to bed and he asked me, he said, "Hey, mommy put me to bed. Daddy, you go work." And I'm like,
mhm,
whoa, because that's what he was used to seeing from me.
mhm,
So I decided to walk away from corporate America. and really focus on the family. But during that time, I realized that I had this yearning to continue to produce and do things. And anybody who's a high achiever
Yeah.
understands that it's hard to sit around. And even being a full-time father, it doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It's just my set point and what I want to accomplish is very different. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where I made the decision with my coach, and we had a funny conversation. But the long story short is decided to be a full-time keynote speaker and trainer, because instead of just helping one company, let me help the entire profession of sales and go to market
Mm-hmm.
really impact an area that most people are not focused on. There is a coach, a sales trainer, a speaker for everything out there. Trust me, I get it. And I'm friends with a lot of them, and everybody has their place. But what I did is I reconstructed and looked back at all the revenue I have generated over my career.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to come to this conclusion that over 98% of the revenue that I have driven and generated came as a result of warm referrals.
Mm.
In the world, and I've have experience with the cadence tools, with the cold outbound. Early on in my career, I started as a cold caller. Back in the day before they had auto dialers, I've done
You
almost
actually had to
two.
call. You had to call.
I used to have to. I did almost 200,000 manual cold calls. Boop, 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 boop,
With
boop.
your eyes closed, you could dial it
Yeah,
back.
like that sort of thing. And once they came out with the auto dialers and all that stuff, I'm probably close to about 1 million cold calls by now. But yet still 98+% of the revenue I've driven has been a result of warm referrals, because the bigger the ticket, the bigger the solution that you are trying to sell, typically
Mm.
there's a bigger level of trust that is needed. So the warm referral solves this trust gap. And so I would get walked into so many accounts. And it wasn't until I took the time, stepped away, because if somebody were to ask me, Stephen, what makes you successful? I probably would have never answered warm referrals. I would have said, oh, the basic. I'm consistent. I work hard. I build good relationships. I understand the business problems. All of that is true. Foundationally, you have to know all these things. You have to have a heart for your customer and want to solve their problems. That will always remain true. But what I realized was this modality, and it really dawned on me because, again, all I see online is
Mm.
cold calls, cold email trainings. No one is teaching people how to grow their network and how to be able to just get access and get walked into a decision maker's office because somebody that trusts that person or whoever that decision maker trusts says, you really need to talk to Stephen.
Mm.
You really need to talk to Davison. That is something that I believe is missing, and that's the gap that I want to fill for the go-to-market community.
I like that. And sometimes you get to that room. Sometimes you don't even talk about business. You just talk about, right, your kids, or just building that rapport, building that relationship, and then there's a book called The Speed of Trust, and it's here somewhere. I
Yeah.
really love it. When there's trust, the deals they'll move faster, right? Anything in life.
Yeah.
Um, how? Uh, so how you doing that though? Like,
Yeah.
and I have an answer. I have a guess, especially on this AI world where everything is automated and AI is taking over. I think your message is gonna resonate even more. But I'll let you explain how you usually do that. How you
Yeah.
try to
So
do that.
there's three parts to this, right? That a lot of times if you are brand new, the biggest gap that I think a new seller or someone who has started selling in the last 15 years who has not kept up with their network, who has over pivoted to cold outbound, they'll always
Mm,
say this. Stephen, I have 10, let's use enterprise sales. I have 10 accounts, 15 accounts. I don't know people in my account. I don't know anybody that knows those individuals. First and foremost, it's an attitude issue, because
mm,
I promise you that everyone knows someone. So if you believe that, you believe in the 6 degrees of separation, you don't know who I know. You might see some people on LinkedIn, but there's more people in my cell phone than there are probably that I know on LinkedIn, right? So there's just things we don't know. So don't make a snap judgment that we don't know people. But there's three parts to building an elite network: network creation, network nurture, and network activation, right?
mm,
Most people start with creation, say, I don't know anyone. truth of the matter is, if you are born on this planet, you know someone. You have to. They have not been taught how to nurture the network, because that's the key. How do you nurture your network and use the nurturing aspect to grow the network? So network creation. And how do you get people to speak about you when you are not in the room? And it's because most sales trainings will tell you about the elevator pitch, bringing value. They'll talk about understanding someone's problem, but they only talk about understanding your prospect's problem. No, you take that same thing, and these are life principles. And so what I do, for example, you said at the beginning of the call, when you and I talk, one of the first things I said, man, how can I support you? Because I say this all the time. Everyone wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be wealthy. But what most people define as wealth is by currency. When you define your wealth by people, you invest where? In people. So I'm not coming to Davison and saying, Davison, what can you do for me? I have no idea. But I know that if I want you to do something for me, then what do? I invest in you and help you become more valuable.
Yeah.
So therefore you trust me. And it all has to be done in a good heart. If you're manipulative and whatnot, I can't help bad people. If you're a bad human being and you're trying to screw people over, sorry, this podcast is not for you. Yeah. I'm not for you. Not going to help you. Right? That
remember what I said when you asked that question. Remember what I said? What you can do for me?
Be on this podcast.
Yeah, and you know why I said that? Because your story is going to inspire the people that are listening to this right now, the people that I'm trying to serve. So
I hope so. And so the thing is, if there's something I can do for you, that's the first and foremost thing. 9 times out of 10, like here's a question I ask if I meet anyone new. I ask them, I say, hey, listen, Davison, I know we just met. You really don't know me. But let's say there is a problem that you have. Like, what is the biggest problem you have? Because since you don't know me, you actually don't know if I can help you solve it. So legitimately, what is a problem that you have right now that if somebody had a magic wand, you'd be like, God, send me somebody that can save this for me, right? Or help me with this. 9 times out of 10, I am not the person, even when they tell me, that can solve the problem. You know what I go do? I literally will go try to find someone that can. I become a connector. And so essentially, I still raise my stock or bring value to that person because now I understand what they're really after. I understand their heart because I've taken the time to learn and get to know them. Again, it's not about the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is about me pitching into you. But if you think about learning about someone, I have now created value in 2 aspects. I'm bringing the person with the problem and the person with the solution together. So I'm bringing value in between, but I'm bringing value to both of you as well. And now I'm seen as this amazing human being and all that kind of stuff. Again, if you just look at what I said, it kind of sounds manipulative. That's the reverse looking back. If you don't come at this with the right heart, it just doesn't work, right? But essentially, that's what I try to do each and every time. And then if I can support you, what do you like? If you've ever read the book by Robert Cialdini, Influence, you've read that book?
No, I've heard of it.
Okay,
No.
so there's 6 principles, but the very first principle is in my opinion, the most important, and it's reciprocity. If I ask you and I spend, let's say, 90% of my time with you asking how I can support you and figuring out how to solve your problem, what do you naturally think you're going to ask me near the end of that conversation, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's Teams, whether it's in person at a networking event? What do you think you're going to ask me?
Same question.
And I don't need a lot of time to be able to tell someone what I do, right? Because I just need to keep them, in mind, then text them afterwards. So what I tell people, I said, hey, listen, there's probably a couple of things. Introduce me to leaders at companies that want to fundamentally change their culture and have all of their employees turn into revenue generating referral specialists and or sales leaders or enablement people that want to do the same thing for their sales teams. I do 2 things. I do keynote speaking and I do sales trainings. That's it. And if you want a better culture, more fun culture where people are just getting walked into decision makers' offices, I'm your guy. I'm not going to come in and, I mean, you do have to know how to create a point of view. We do all that kind of stuff, but the modality, I'm not going to tell you how to write a, 20 touch cadence sequence. No, I'm going to show you how to go figure out and target who can walk you into that decision maker's office. I'm a get in front of the line, and I'm going to cut that trust gap to nothing, because I'm going to borrow someone else's trust and have them utilize that to walk me into decision makers' offices. That's what I do.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but that's the dream of, right? Every seller or everyone who's trying to get into the right rooms, right? It's just how do they do it? How do I do that, right?
There's a term that I always talk about that I say, be referable. Now, in my last company, one of the things I would always say, actually several companies, is I put a lot of onus on the person. Let me be very clear. If you're working for a company and you don't believe in their product or service, I mean, you probably should not be working there. And I say that with the understanding that sometimes we are in a position, we took a job, we didn't realize certain things great, and we can't just up and leave because we've got bills to pay. I'm not saying just up and leave your job, right? Like, we have to have wisdom in this. My point being is, if you don't believe in the product or service, you're always going to have an issue. So here's what I mean about being referable. I used to ask my sellers all the time, why would X person, why would like a partner, why would anyone put you in front of their prospect or customer? And if the answer is something about, well, our company does this, our product does this, I'm like, no. That's not what I asked. I didn't say why they would put your company or your product. Why would they put you, Davison? Why would they put you, Stephen? You. And until we can articulate the answer to that, like, it's going to be very hard. So again, we have to be able to be willing to solve problems. We have to invest in ourselves. There has to be something about us that we have the confidence in. And that's what you also have to build up. It could be the business acumen. It could be the industry acumen. It could be a lot of different things. It could be the fact that anybody that, for me, anyone knows that I want to be the guy that knows a guy, if that makes sense. So if you go to Steven, he's going to know someone that is impactful that can help you. So it doesn't matter. Everybody should get to know me because I will find someone that can solve said problem. I just know how to do that. That's fine. I may not be the guy to solve your problem, but I promise you I know someone that does. Or I will find someone that does. So that's sort of like, you got to think about what your thing is or things. And, it could be a lot of different things, but simple, not easy, but that's why it takes time to break this. And, it's not, we only have a few minutes. So it's not like I can go through a full, all day workshop here, but you get
exactly. That's why there's so much value in what you, and I can see you speaking about it and going all day workshops and coming back to organizations and recycling that knowledge, because it's not something that just clicks, right. Natural for you, maybe developed throughout the years. Maybe it was just a natural ability, but it's definitely something that can be learned, right?
Yeah,
Developed.
it was not natural for me. I am an awkward turtle, man. If you've ever seen that, I don't know how to do the little thing, like the awkward turtle thing, but I was picked on growing up. I was a nerd growing up. I think nerds rule the world, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
my point being is, I didn't fit in anywhere. And the post that you last read from me is part of, people say it was natural, but it was the strife, the tragedies, the fact that I was not accepted anywhere, that it forced me to learn. That's how I know it's a skill, not a talent. A talent is, I believe, something that's more natural. I think that it's God-given, and I believe we have all that. That's just my opinion. But a skill can be something that is learned. It's why I'm such a Kobe fan, because he would talk about many times how he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, he didn't have all this, but he outworked everyone else to build skills that no one could catch up in. Networking, relationship building, all these things can be skills. Now, it is all on a bedrock and a foundation. And I don't know if I can change this for people, but you have to have a heart to love people, serve people, and genuinely want to be. When I say be around people, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
When I say I'm not talking about being an extrovert. That's not what I'm talking about. But there are people that I know that say their goal in life is to make all this money so they can go live in a cabin somewhere away from everyone. Cool. I mean, that's your goal. I'm not here. I don't think it's right or wrong, but I just am like, I don't know. I can't get on board with that. And I think about at the end of our life, like you have to want to impact people. But it is not natural for me at all. I get myself and, I got to think about what I say and like not everyone's the same as me. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm just an awkward dude, man.
Yeah. I think I resonate with that too. Kind of both introverts. People see us on LinkedIn, online and all that networking, but just because we just like people naturally, we care about relationships. And that's, I saw we have like people that we're both connected. Oh, like almost 2,000. They're all from Microsoft. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Because we're super well connected, right? But just because we want to find a way to give back, and that's for me, I think that's natural. Man, that was good. I told you I don't have written questions, none of that. I know we're coming here for like 40 minutes, and we can go on and on and on, talk about so many things that we kind of overlap. I just want to close. I know you're writing a book. It's coming out. Like, how can people follow you, learn more from you? Like,
the best thing to do is find me on LinkedIn. You'll see my name here in the title if you're listening on Spotify or any of the audio versions, but even on YouTube or anywhere else this is posted, you'll spell my name. You'll see a basketball in front of my name on LinkedIn. I have open messaging. DM me. Even if you follow me, connect with me, send me a follow, that sort of thing, but you can still, I have open messaging. DM me if you want to meet, if there's a question you have, if you have a keynote or an SKO coming up, a leadership offsite, you want some culture, you need some culture change in your organization, DM me. It is literally the best way. Let's have a conversation. My goal is just pour into this world and pour into people the best I can. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
I love it. Thanks so much, Stephen, for your time. You're up to something here big. I know that because you have your heart is on the right place, and you are helping humanity. And more than ever, we need help right now. Any final words? Anything that you forgot to say, or any closing remarks?
Yeah, the only thing I always tell people is it may sound altruistic, it may sound fluffy, but the wealth of this world is not in the currency. It's in the people. How you define that word wealth will define how you live your life and how the impact and the outcome of your life is derived. So be very, very careful with how you define that word. Everything else in sales specifically and how you drive revenue will change when you are very clear on the definition of that word. So with that, I would say those are my final words. When the book comes out, it's called The Referral Effect. Please pick one up.
Yes. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we crack the code and uncover the strategies to break into tech sales. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to hack their way into this exciting career. Remember, hacking into tech sales isn't just a goal, it's a mission. Let's keep hacking, learning, and winning together. Catch you next time.